thriving business.
In my current role, it's my driving mission to ensure that gender equality and women's rights are at the heart of the movement for just climate action. And that includes in the rooms where decisions are made. And with that, there is no better person to close today's segment than Secretary Hillary Clinton, who has been a lifelong advocate for women and girls. Please join me in welcoming Secretary Clinton to the stage. Madam Secretary, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you so much, Razan, and thank you all for this extraordinary day of not only panels and events and talks, but commitments to action so that we are going to leave here from COP28 inspired and challenged to do as much as we can to realize the full potential of women in the struggle against climate change. And I so appreciate this important dialogue on gender-just transition because, as you know, the panelists were just talking about the significance of what we are finally putting on the agenda of COP, the first ever COP focused on gender and health. But it's also a reminder of how we still have so much work to do. And I want to close this important session by focusing on how we move forward from here. We've had a great day of discussion. Now we need to take action together. We've heard through this discussion that among the many obstacles women face, the worsening climate crisis poses an acute risk to any hope of gender equality and economic prosperity. We know that climate change threatens women's livelihoods, their health, their safety, and in fact threatens to reverse decades of progress toward closing the gender equality gap. We know that climate change is increasing the burden of unpaid care and domestic work. Women are spending more hours of every day seeking to secure food, water, fuel. Their incomes are reduced. Their access to education and health care is being limited, and the list goes on. Part of the reason why we are seeing this so acutely is because of the COVID epidemic, which set so many women and communities back. And you know, the cruel irony is that in general, the people most affected by climate change are the ones who have contributed the least to it. But we know that women are not just victims of the climate crisis. We are a key part of solving it. When women have access to renewable electric mini grids or clean cook stoves or solar panels, it has a transformational impact on their communities and, yes, even their countries. And so the point I want to emphasize today is that when prioritized and empowered, women and girls are force multipliers in our efforts to combat climate change and build sustainable economies. Let me give you an example. The Clinton Global Initiative recently partnered with SEWA, the Self-Employed Women's Association of India, to launch a $50 million climate resilience fund for women. For 50 years, SEWA has brought women together, women in the informal economy, to work together for better working conditions, higher wages, access to health care. I recently traveled last February to celebrate the 50th anniversary of SEWA. I met women who make their living on construction jobs, as recyclers, as agricultural workers, as market women, as the kind of hard work outside that they and their mothers and grandmothers and great-grandmothers have done for generations. And I drove north into the Rajasthan desert to meet Sewa members who make their living harvesting salt. That is difficult work that involves raking the tops of ponds in the scorching desert heat. Some of the women that I met were the 7th, 8th, 9th generation of the women in their families who have done this work. They start after the monsoons in October. They work all the way through April. They are used to hard work. They are used to working all day. Now they have to get up at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning in the worst heat to be able to work until 10, 11 o'clock in the morning when it becomes unbearable in 50 degrees centigrade, 52 degrees as has been recorded. In addition to suffering in extreme temperatures, these salt farmers used to rely on expensive, dirty diesel to operate the pumps that they needed to complete their work. We all know that diesel is unsustainable, it harms our environment, but it's also expensive. So it ate up a major portion of their earnings because they get paid by the ton. Can you imagine out there in the desert raking salt until you have a ton, and then you sell it to get paid? So together with their partners, Sewa is supplying these salt farmers with solar-powered pumps. These pumps replace the dirty diesel pumps. And not only that, at the end of the season of their salt raking and farming, they take those pumps back to their villages and use it to light up their homes so that their children can do their homework, that they can have light at night. It's a win-win. It helped to increase their profits. As I listened to these stories of hard work and sacrifice made more difficult because of climate change and particularly extreme heat, I was reminded about how hard women around the world work. Not always are we in the formal economy, but in the informal economy as well, we are often doing work not only outside the home, but inside the home, all of which has become more difficult because of climate change. And so we are working at the Clinton Global Initiative in our Women and Girls pillar to address the acute and disproportionate climate impacts on women and girls and find ways to empower and equip them to keep working, which they all want to. They're not asking for charity. They just want ways to keep working despite the heat. How do they sustain their health in the midst of that? But there are countless solutions and shovel-ready projects that need financing that women have pioneered. We really applaud the excellent decision that was made on the very first day of the COP for the Climate Impact Resilience Fund to try to increase our investment to make sure that climate financing prioritizes women. And let me underscore that this is not just a gender equality issue, though of course it is, and I am thrilled that we've had this day to recognize that. It is also an economic and climate imperative. We cannot meet our goals and the commitments being made here in Dubai unless we include women and see us as essential problem solvers in this fight. That means we have to invest in women. That means we have to listen to women. That means we have to pay attention to the ideas they have, whether they're smallholder farmers or small business women. Let's listen to what they think will work for them in order to get them better equipped to deal with climate change. So I hope on this COP28 Gender and Climate Day, we will all renew our commitments And I hope each and every one of us will look for ways to make sure there is a gender lens on everything that comes out of COP28. You know, there have been new funds that have been created with public money, private money, philanthropic money. Let's make sure that they also look for women to invest in, and the small businesses and the entrepreneurial activities that women are engaged in around the world. I started my day-to-day in the morning meeting an amazing group of women climate activists from around the world who are creating some of the answers to help us solve the problems. One young woman is working on a technology that turns bamboo into electricity. I mean, these are the kinds of creative ideas that often come from the people, very often women, who are literally on the front lines of seeing what climate is doing to them. And so I hope that this day, which was so important, is the beginning, not the end. That it is the challenge that we all accept to find more commitments about how we will include women in every aspect of our fight against climate change. The lives, the livelihoods of women are particularly threatened. There's no time to waste in addressing this urgent need. We have solutions all over the world that we have to take to scale, and many of those solutions have been pioneered by women. And so thank you for being part of this day, but let's make this day the first of many days where we all come together to ensure that women are part of the solution to dealing with the challenges of climate change. Thank you all very much.
Smart 24, driving business.